You've been here too long. At some point, you got to be honest with yourself. This level, this comfort, this routine, it's not growth anymore. It's a cage. And the worst part about cages is when they don't look like cages. They look like paychecks. They look like relationships. They look like I'm doing okay. They look like average, but average is dangerous. You've been at the same mindset for too long. Same excuses, same fears, same file start Monday. Monday turned into next month. Next month turned into next year. And now years have passed, and you're still here. Let me tell you something. Growth requires discomfort. You cannot become who you're supposed to be staying where you are. You cannot level up holding on to the same habits that kept you small. You cannot ask God for elevation, but refuse to climb. You've been here too long. Some of you are in relationships you outgrew 3 years ago. Some of you are in jobs that stopped challenging you 5 years ago. Some of you are still telling the same story about why you can't win. The same story from 10 years ago. Pain visited you, but you decided to build a house for it. Listen to me carefully. Pain is a teacher, not a landlord. You were supposed to learn from it and move, not unpack your bags and live there. You say you want greatness, but greatness demands change. Greatness demands sacrifice. Greatness demands that you let go of who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. And that's scary because the place you're in right now, be uncomfortable, but it's familiar. And familiarity feels safe, but safe doesn't build legacy. Safe doesn't change your bloodline. Safe doesn't wake you up at 3 a.m. with fire in your soul. You've been here too long. At some point, you've got to get tired of your own excuses. You've got to get tired of hearing yourself say, oh, one day. One day is not on the calendar. It's a lie on the calendar. It's a lie we tell ourselves to feel better about staying stuck. The next level requires a different version of you. More discipline, more focus, more hunger, more consistency. You can't pray for strength and avoid struggle. You can't pray for opportunity and avoid preparation. You're asking for harvest, but you won't plant seeds. You're asking for doors to open, but you're not even knocking. You've been here too long. And here's the truth. Nobody wants to hear. Nobody is coming to save you. No mentor is going to magically appear if you're not already working. No opportunity is going to chase you if you're not chasing growth. No dream is going to work if you don't. You want different results? Do something different. Wake up earlier, stay up later. Read more, complain less, train harder, study longer, move smarter. You are not stuck because you lack talent. You're stuck because you lack movement. Creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates courage. Courage creates change. But it starts with a decision. A decision that today is the last day you accept mediocrity. A decision that you're done being comfortable. A decision that fear doesn't get the final say. You've been here too long. Some of you are one bold move away from a completely different life. One risk, one conversation, one application, one sacrifice. But comfort is whispering a stay. And greatness is screaming a move. Which one are you listening to? If you don't leave this level will become your life. And one day you'll look back and realize you weren't stuck. You were scared. Don't let fear write your story. Your children deserve to see courage. Your family deserves to see discipline. Your future deserves your effort. And you deserve to know what happens when you give everything you've got. So stop waiting. Stop negotiating with your potential. Stop shrinking your dreams to match your environment. Outgrow it, outwork it, outlast it. Because you've been here too long, and the next level, it's not waiting forever. Comfort is a silent killer. It doesn't attack you loudly. It doesn't shake your life in one dramatic moment. It whispers, it soothes, it tells you that you've done enough. It convinces you that average is acceptable and that settling is smart. Comfort doesn't look dangerous. It looks like stability. It looks like routine. It looks like security. But what it's really doing is slowly disconnecting you from your potential. You don't wake up one day and decide to waste your life. It happens gradually. You hit a small goal and instead of building on it, you camp there. You earn a little success and instead of stretching further, you relax into it. You get through pain and instead of using it as fuel, you use comfort as a reward. And before you know it, that temporary rest becomes a permanent residence. Comfort feels good in the moment, and that's why it's so powerful. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't demand sacrifice. It doesn't require you to confront your fears. It lets you avoid the hard conversations, the bold moves, the uncomfortable growth. It gives you permission to delay your greatness, and delay is dangerous. The scariest part about comfort is that it disguises stagnation as peace. You tell yourself, I'm fine, I'm doing okay. But deep down, there's a voice reminding you that you were built for more. There's a restlessness in your spirit, there's a hunger you keep trying to silence. You scroll through your phone, you watch others chase their dreams, and you feel something stirring inside you. That's not jealousy. That's awareness. That's the realization that you're capable of more than you're allowing yourself to pursue. Comfort convinces you that risk is reckless. It tells you to stay where it's predictable, but nothing extraordinary has ever come from predictable. Growth is unpredictable. Elevation is uncomfortable. Expansion stretches you. And stretching doesn't feel good at first. It feels awkward. It feels uncertain. It feels scary. But let me tell you something powerful. Everything you want lives on the other side of discomfort. The reason comfort is a silent killer is because it slowly erodes your edge. When you stop challenging yourself, you stop sharpening yourself. When you stop pushing limits, your limits shrink. When you stop demanding more from yourself, you start accepting less from life. You say you want success, but you love sleep more than sacrifice. You say you want change, but you love routine more than risk. You say you want greatness, but you love approval more than authenticity. Comfort feeds those preferences. It protects your ego. It keeps you from failing publicly. It keeps you from being judged, but it also keeps you from evolving. Think about it. Muscles grow through resistance. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Champions are built in training. Not in building training, not in comfort. So why do you expect your life to expand without tension? Comfort makes you believe that effort is optional. It makes you negotiate with discipline. You start telling yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month, and months turn into years. All because comfort whispers, you deserve a break. Rest is necessary. Recovery is important. But there's a difference between resting and retreating. Rest prepares you to fight again. Comfort convinces you to quit the fight altogether. Some of you are not tired because you've been working too hard. You're tired because you've been living below your potential. There's a frustration that comes from knowing you're capable of more, but refusing to step into it. That frustration builds. It shows up as irritability. It shows up as irritability. Shows up as envy. It shows up as boredom. But the root of it is simple. You've been comfortable too long. Comfort doesn't challenge your weaknesses. It protects them. It allows your excuse to survive. It gives your fear a seat at the table. It tells you that you don't need to prepare more, learn more, or stretch more. And over time, that lack of stretching becomes shrinkage. You were not designed to shrink. You were built to expand, to grow, to improve. But growth requires friction. And friction is uncomfortable. It means waking up earlier than you want to. It means training when you're tired. It means studying when others are relaxing. It means saying no to distraction. It means risking embarrassment. It means stepping into rooms where you feel unqualified. Comfort tells you to avoid those rooms. Growth tells you to enter them anyway. If you stay in your comfort zone too long, it becomes your identity. You start defining yourself by what's safe instead of what's possible. You lower your standards to match your effort. You lower your dreams to match your fear. And eventually you forget what you were aiming for in the first place. That's how comfort kills dreams. Not in one dramatic collapse, but in quiet compromise. Every time you choose ease over effort, you make a small withdrawal from your future. Every time you avoid a challenge, you reinforce a limitation. Every time you silence your ambition to protect your comfort, you shrink your destiny. But here's the truth. Discomfort is temporary. Regret is permanent. The discomfort of trying something new fades. The embarrassment of failing fades. The exhaustion of hard work fades. But the regret of never trying, of never stepping up, of never stretching yourself, that lingers. Comfort wants you to survive. Growth wants you to thrive. There's a difference. Survival keeps you at baseline. Thriving keeps you to new heights. Survival is about maintaining. Thriving is about multiplying. If you look at your life and everything feels predictable, if nothing challenges you, if nothing scares you just a little bit, that's a sign. It means you've adjusted your life to eliminate tension. And without tension, there is no transformation. You cannot pray for a bigger life while clinging to small habits. You cannot ask for breakthrough while avoiding breakdown. You cannot desire expansion while refusing pressure. Comfort makes you underestimate what you're capable of. It makes you believe that your current level is your final level. But your current level is just a reflection of your current effort. Change the effort, and you change the outcome. The question is simple. Are you willing to be uncomfortable long enough to grow? Because growth will test you. It will stretch your patience. It will expose your weaknesses. It will require consistency when motivation fades. It will demand that you show up when nobody is watching. It will require faith when results are delayed. Comfort will offer you shortcuts. Growth will offer you substance. Comfort will promise you peace. Growth will deliver you power. Comfort will tell you to wait. Growth will tell you to move. You cannot have both comfort and transformation at the same time. At some point, you have to choose. And choosing growth means embracing discomfort intentionally. It means putting yourself in situations that force you to adapt. It means raising your standard. It means expecting more from yourself than anyone else expects from you. It means refusing to let ease dictate your effort. You are not here to coast. You are here to conquer. You are not here to blend in. You are here to build. You are not here to simply exist. You are here to expand. Comfort is silent, but its consequences are loud. Years from now, the results of your comfort will speak for you. Either they will show a life that played it safe, or they will show a life that took risks and evolved. So don't let comfort become your ceiling. Let it be a temporary stop, not a permanent address. Use it to recover, not to retrieve. Use it to refuel, not to resign. Because the moment you choose discomfort with purpose, everything changes. Your confidence grows, your capacity increases, your vision expands. You begin to see yourself differently. And once you see yourself differently, you move differently. Comfort is a silent killer, but awareness is a powerful weapon. The moment you recognize that you've been settling, you regain control. The moment you decide that ease is no longer enough, you activate growth. You have greatness inside you that comfort cannot contain. You have potential that routine cannot satisfy. You have ambition that safety cannot fulfill. So step out, stretch yourself, challenge yourself, demand more from yourself. Because the life you want will never be built in the place where you feel the most comfortable. Movement creates momentum. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but it is one of the most powerful principles you will ever understand. Most people are not stuck because they lack talent. They are stuck because they lack motion. They are waiting for motivation before they move, not realizing that movement is what creates motivation in the first place. You don't feel ready? Move anyway. You don't feel confident? Move anyway. You don't feel prepared? Move anyway. Because confidence is not built by thinking, it's built by doing. Too many people sit still overanalyzing every detail, trying to design the perfect plan. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect conditions. But perfection is a myth that keeps you frozen while you are waiting for everything to line up. Someone else is moving with imperfection and winning. Movement creates clarity. When you take action, you learn. When you learn, you adjust. When you adjust, you improve. But none of that happens while you're sitting still. Think about a car. If it's parked, you can turn the steering wheel all you want, but nothing changes. The direction only matters once the car is in motion. The same is true for your life. You can't steer a parked dream. You have to move first. Some of you are stuck in your head. You're replaying your fear. You're imagining worst case scenarios. You're worrying about opinions. But fear feeds on stillness. The longer you wait, the louder it gets. The moment you move even just a little, fear starts to shrink. Action disrupts doubt. You don't eliminate doubt by thinking positively. You eliminate doubt by collecting evidence. And the only way to collect evidence is through action. Every small win builds proof. Every completed task builds belief. Every attempt builds resilience. Momentum is like a snowball. It starts small. It might not look impressive at first. But once it begins rolling, it gathers speed, power, and force. The problem is most people quit before the snowball gets big enough to feel unstoppable. The first step is always the hardest. The first workout, the first video, the first application, the first conversation, the first early morning. It feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. It feels uncertain. But that first step breaks inertia. Inertia is dangerous. It keeps you locked in place. And the longer you stay still, the heavier it feels to start. That's why you can't wait for inspiration. Inspiration is unreliable. Discipline creates movement. Movement creates momentum. And momentum creates results. Some of you are waiting to feel different before you act. But feelings follow action. You act your way into confidence. You act your way into strength. You act your way into growth. You don't wake up one day magically disciplined. You become disciplined by doing disciplined things repeatedly. You don't wake up fearless. You become brave by facing small fears consistently. Movement rewires you. Every time you take action, even when you don't feel like it, you send a message to your brain. I am someone who moves. I am someone who executes. I am someone who does not wait. And identity is everything. When you see yourself as someone who takes action, hesitation loses power. When you build a reputation with yourself for following through, procrastination weakens. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop debating whether you should start. Starting becomes automatic. But here's the truth. Movement doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be consistent. People think momentum requires giant leaps. It doesn't. It requires daily steps. Small improvements compound. 10 pages a day becomes books finished. 30 minutes of practice becomes mastery over time. One connection becomes an opportunity. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to take the next step. Waiting kills more dreams than failure ever will. Failure at least teaches. Failure gives feedback. Failure builds resilience. But waiting builds regret. You say you want change, but change responds to action. You say you want opportunity, but opportunity notices move. You say you want growth, but growth requires friction. And friction only happens when you move. When you start moving, something shifts inside you. You feel progress. You feel direction. Even if the results aren't immediate, you feel alive. Because humans are wired for progress. We are not built to stagnate. We are built to expand. The reason you feel frustrated sometimes isn't because life is unfair. It's because you're not moving. You're sitting on potential. You're delaying execution. And that delay creates internal tension. Relieve the tension. Take action. Momentum also protects you from overthinking. When you're in motion, you don't have time to constantly question yourself. You're too busy doing. Overthinking thrives in stillness. Execution silences it. And once momentum builds, it becomes easier to continue than to stop. That's the beauty of it. At first, discipline feels heavy. But once momentum kicks in, discipline feels natural. You crave progress. You crave improvement. You crave the feeling of moving forward. You start to realize that action is addictive in a good way. Progress fuels motivation. Motivation fuels more action, and the cycle continues. But you have to guard your momentum. Distractions will try to interrupt it. Comfort will try to slow it. Doubt will try to question it. You cannot entertain every thought. You cannot chase every distraction. You must stay in motion. Even bad movement is better than no movement, because bad movement gives you something to refine. No movement gives you nothing. You are not going to figure everything out before you start. You are not going to eliminate all uncertainty. You are not going to guarantee success, but you can guarantee stagnation if you refuse to move. There are people less talented than you winning because they move. There are people less prepared than you succeeding because they execute. There are people less gifted than you advancing because they refuse to sit still. Talent without movement is wasted potential. Vision without movement is hallucination. Dreams without movement are fantasy. If you want results, move. Wake up and take one step, make the call. Send the email, start the project. Do the workout, study the material. Practice the skill. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to begin. Because beginning creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. When you build momentum, obstacles feel small. Challenges feel manageable. Setbacks feel temporary. You don't collapse at the first sign of resistance because you're already in motion. You adapt. You adjust. You keep going. Momentum builds resilience because it trains you to continue. And continuation is powerful. Most success stories are not about genius. They're about consistency. They're about people who kept moving when it was inconvenient. People who kept showing up when it was boring. People who kept pushing when it was uncomfortable. Movement separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers talk about what they will do. Doers move. Dreamers wait for the right feeling. Doers create the feeling through action. Dreamers seek validation. Doers seek progress. The beautiful thing about movement is that it's always available. You don't need permission to act. You don't need applause to begin. You don't need certainty to start. You just need a decision. A decision that you refuse to stay stuck. A decision that you will no longer allow fear to freeze you. A decision that small steps are better than no steps. Momentum is not magic. It's mechanics. Action repeated daily creates force. Force creates direction. Direction creates results. If you feel behind, move. If you feel confused, move. If you feel uncertain, move. Clarity often comes after action, not before it. And once you feel that momentum building, protect it fiercely. Don't let one bad day stop the road. Don't let one mistake reset your progress. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep moving. Because movement creates momentum. And momentum, once strong enough, makes you unstoppable. Familiar doesn't mean faithful to your future. Just because something feels normal, just because it's what you've always known, just because it doesn't scare you anymore, doesn't mean it's aligned with where you're supposed to go. Familiarity can be comforting, but comfort and calling are not always the same thing. You can wake up every day in a routine that feels predictable. You know the schedule. You know the people. You know the outcome. Nothing surprises you. Nothing stretches you. Nothing challenges you. And because it's familiar, you assume it's right. But familiar is just repetition. It's habit. It's exposure. It's what you train yourself to tolerate. And sometimes what you tolerate is far below what you deserve. The human mind is wired to prefer what it recognizes, even if it's limiting, even if it's draining, even if it's small, because the known feels safe in the unknown. You would rather deal with a predictable discomfort than risk an unpredictable opportunity. That's how people stay in situations that no longer serve them. Not because they are happy, not because they are growing, but because they are used to it. Used to being underestimated, used to being overlooked, used to playing small, used to settling, but being used to something doesn't make it right for you. There are people in relationships they outgrew years ago, not because they're fulfilled, but because they're familiar. There are people in careers that stopped challenging them long ago, not because they're passionate, but because they're predictable. There are people living lives they don't even recognize as their own, all because stepping away from familiar feels like stepping into chaos. But growth always feels chaotic at first. When you leave what you know, you step into uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers fear. Your mind starts asking questions. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I regret it? But it rarely asks the more important question. What if staying cost me my potential? Familiar can become a trap disguised as stability. You tell yourself you're being responsible. You tell yourself you're being patient. You tell yourself you're being realistic. It might be cheap. Deep down, you know you're avoiding expansion. You know there's more in you. You feel it when you see others take risks. You feel it when you imagine a bigger version of your life. You feel it when you lie awake at night wondering what could be. That feeling isn't random. It's a signal. Your future is not built in the space where you feel the most comfortable. It's built in the space where you feel stretched, where you feel challenged, where you feel slightly unqualified but willing to learn. Familiar doesn't demand growth. It doesn't force you to evolve. It allows you to operate on autopilot. And autopilot is dangerous when you're meant to be ascending. Think about who you were 5 years ago. If you're still thinking the same, dreaming the same, moving the same, then something is wrong. Because time alone doesn't create progress. Intentional change does. You cannot step into a new season holding on to old patterns just because they're comfortable. You cannot elevate your life while clinging to habits that keep small. Familiar habits produce familiar results. If you want different outcomes, you need different behaviors. The problem is that stepping away from familiar often feels like loss, even when it's necessary, even when it's healthy, even when it's overdue. Growth requires release. You may have to release people who only know the old version of you. You may have to release environments that no longer challenge you. You may have to release mindsets that once protected you but now restrict you. And release feels uncomfortable. It feels risky. It feels lonely at times. But staying in a place that no longer aligns with your future is more dangerous than stepping into the unknown. Familiar can trick you into believing that you're safe, but safe isn't the same as aligned. Alignment means your daily actions match your long-term vision. Alignment means your environment supports your growth. Alignment means your habits push you forward, not hold you back. Ask yourself honestly, is where you are preparing you for where you say you want to go? If the answer is no, then familiarity is not faithfulness. It's limitation. You cannot become the next version of yourself by repeating the current version's routines. Evolution requires disruption. It requires courage. It requires the willingness to disappoint comfort in order to honor calling. The first time you step outside what's familiar, it will feel awkward. You'll question yourself. You'll miss the predictability. You'll crave the ease of what you left behind. That's normal. But discomfort is not a sign you made the wrong decision. Sometimes it's proof you made the necessary one. Your mind wants certainty. Your future requires courage. There is a version of you that exists beyond what you currently know. A stronger version, a bolder version, a more disciplined version. But that version cannot fully emerge in an environment designed for your past self. You stay in what's familiar simply because it's known. You slowly shrink your capacity. You adjust your dreams to fit your surroundings instead of adjusting your surroundings to fit your dreams. And that's how potential dies quietly, not through dramatic failure, but through comfortable repetition, familiar conversation, familiar excuses, familiar fears, familiar limits. At some point, you must decide whether you want comfort or transformation, because you rarely get both at the same time. Transformation requires friction. It requires learning new skills, meeting new people, entering new spaces, taking new risks. It requires humility because you won't be the expert anymore. You'll be the beginner again. And pride hates being a beginner, but growth loves it. Every new level of your life will demand that you release something familiar, a mindset, a habit, a relationship, a routine. And if you cling too tightly to what you know, you block what you're meant to become. Sometimes the very thing you're praying for requires you to leave the thing you're clinging to. The opportunity you want may not exist in your current circle. The mindset you need may not thrive in your current environment. The discipline you seek may not survive your current routine. So you have to choose. Will you protect what's familiar, or will you pursue what's possible? Because the future doesn't reward familiarity. It rewards growth. It rewards courage. It rewards those willing to step into rooms where they don't have all the answers but are willing to learn. There's a cost to leaving familiar, but there's also a cost to staying. And the cost of staying is often invisible at first. It shows up years later as regret, as unfulfilled potential, as quiet frustration, as wondering what might have been. Don't let familiarity dictate your destiny. You are allowed to outgrow spaces. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to elevate your standard. You are allowed to pursue more, and more will not feel familiar at first. It will feel intimidating. It will feel uncertain. It will feel challenging. It will feel challenging, but that's where expansion lives. That's where resilience is built. That's where confidence is forged. Familiar feels safe because it asks nothing new of you. But your future is asking something new of you. New habits, new risks, new discipline, new courage. You don't owe your past self permanent residence in your present life. You owe your future self preparation. So if what's familiar no longer aligns with who you're becoming, have the courage to step away. Have the discipline to endure the discomfort. Have the faith to trust that growth requires transition. Because familiar doesn't mean faithful to your future, and your future deserves more than what you've simply grown used to. Excuses expire when results matter. At some point in your life, the reasons you've been holding on to will no longer be strong enough to justify where you are. At some point, the story you keep telling about why it's hard, why it's unfair, why it didn't work before, that story will lose its power. Because when you truly decide that the result is non-negotiable, the excuses become irrelevant. Everybody has excuses. Lack of money, lack of time, lack of support, a painful past, a slow start, a mistake that costs you confidence, a failure that embarrassed you, a fear that paralyzes you. These reasons feel real. They feel heavy. They feel valid. But here's the truth. They only remain powerful as long as the result is optional. When the result becomes mandatory, the excuses fade. If someone told you that your dream must happen, that failure is not allowed. That quitting is not an option. Your behavior would change instantly. You will find time. You will find energy. You will find creativity. You will find a way. Why? Because when something truly matters, you stop negotiating with yourself. Excuses are comfortable. They protect your ego. They protect you from the discomfort of trying and possibly failing again. They give you something to point at when progress is slow, but excuses do not move your life forward. They maintain your current position, and maintaining is not the same as winning. There are people with fewer resources than you achieving more. There are people with bigger obstacles pushing harder. There are people with heavier responsibilities still making progress. The difference is not that their lives are easier. The difference is that their commitment is stronger than their excuses. When results matter, you don't ask if you feel like it. You don't ask if it's convenient. You don't ask if it's comfortable. You act because the outcome demands it. Think about survival. When survival's on the line, people do extraordinary things. They find strength they didn't know they had. They endure pain they thought would break them. They adapt. They fight. They move. Why? Because survival's not optional. What if you treated your dreams like survival? What if success wasn't a preference but a requirement? What if growth wasn't something you hoped for, but something you demanded from yourself? Excuses survive in environments where standards are low. Raise the standard and excuses struggle to breathe. You say you want more, but you tolerate less from yourself. You say you want change, but you accept the same habits. You say you want elevation, but you entertain the same distraction. Then when the results don't show up, you reach for a reason. I'm tired. I'm busy. I don't have the right connections. It's not the right time, but time keeps moving. Opportunities keep passing. Potential keeps waiting, and excuses keep repeating. Results don't care about your reasons. They respond to your actions. You can explain why something didn't happen, or you can build why it did. But you cannot do both at the same level of commitment. At some point, you must get tired of hearing your own explanation. Tired of repeating the same narrative. Tired of defending your lack of progress. Because deep down, you know what you're capable of. And the longer you delay stepping into that capability, the louder the frustration becomes. Excuses feel powerful in the moment, but they weaken your identity over time. Every time you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow and don't, you chip away at your self-trust. Every time you justify inconsistency, you lower your standard. Every time you blame circumstance, you surrender control. But when results matter, you take ownership. Ownership is powerful because it puts the control back in your hand. It doesn't mean your circumstances are perfect. It doesn't mean the obstacles disappear. It means you decide that regardless of the condition, you will find a way forward. That's the shift. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I do about it? Instead of saying, I can't, because you start saying, how can I? Instead of focusing on what's missing, you maximize what's available. When results matter, creativity increases, discipline strengthens, focus sharpens. You stop wasting energy defending your position and start investing energy improving it. And let's be honest, sometimes excuses are easier than effort. It's easier to say you didn't have enough time than to admit you mismanaged it. It's easier to blame a lack of opportunity than to admit you didn't prepare enough. It's easier to say the system is against you than to confront the areas where you need growth. But easy doesn't build legacy. Easy doesn't create breakthroughs. Easy doesn't transform lives. Results require responsibility. You cannot control everything. You can control your response. You can control your effort. You can control your consistency. And those three things alone can shift your trajectory. The moment you decide that your dream matters more than your comfort, excuses begin to expire. The moment you decide that progress is more important than pride, excuses lose their grip. The moment you decide that who you're becoming matters more than how you feel today, excuses weaken. You start waking up earlier, not because it's convenient, but because it's necessary. You start training harder, not because it's fun, but because it's required. You start saying no to distractions, not because you're antisocial, but because you're focused. When results matter, discipline becomes a form of respect. Respect for your goals, respect for your future, respect for your potential. You begin to see that every excuse costs you something. It costs you time. It costs you momentum. It costs you belief. And over time, it costs you opportunities you may never get back. Imagine looking back 5 years from now and realizing the only thing standing between you and the life you wanted was a series of justifications. That's painful, not because you weren't capable, but because you weren't committed enough to silence your excuses. But here's the empowering truth. Excuses are not permanent. They are habits, and habits can be broken. Start small. The next time you catch yourself explaining why you can't pause, replace it with a question. What's one step I can take right now? Just one. Not the whole journey, not the perfect plan. Just one move. Action weakens excuses. Execution exposes them. The more you act, the less believable your excuses become. Because you start proving to yourself that you can move despite difficulty. You can progress despite fear. You can improve despite imperfection. And once you build that evidence, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone limited by circumstances and start seeing yourself as someone strengthened by them. Results are built by people who decide that their standards are higher than their excuses. So raise your standards. Demand consistency from yourself. Demand focus. Demand growth. Not because someone else expects it, but because you expect it. When results truly matter, the conversation changes. It's no longer about why you can't. It's about how you will. It's no longer about what went wrong. It's about what you're doing next. It's no longer about defending your past. It's about building your future. Excuses expire when urgency increases, when clarity increases, when commitment increases. So decide what matters. Decide what is non-negotiable. Decide what you refuse to let slip through your hands, and then let your actions reflect that decision. Because in the end, nobody remembers your reasons. They remember your results. You can't level up with level 1 habits. You cannot expect a different life while repeating the same behaviors that created your current one. Growth is not accidental. Elevation is not random. Every new level of your life will demand a new version of you, and that version is built through upgraded habits. Habits are the architecture of your future. They are the invisible system shaping your visible results. What you do daily determines who you become permanently, not what you say, not what you post, not what you promise, what you repeatedly do. Level 1 habits create level 1 results. If you wake up whenever you feel like it, move only when you're motivated, work only when it's convenient, and quit when it gets uncomfortable, you will remain exactly where you are. You cannot outdream poor discipline. You cannot outwish inconsistent effort. You cannot outtalk weak system. You say you want to level up, but leveling up is not about wanting more. It's about becoming more. A new level requires new discipline. It requires structure. It requires sacrifice. It requires habits that support the vision instead of sabotage it. Look at your current results. They are not random. They are reflections of your routines, reflections of your focus, reflections of your standard. If you want a different reflection, you need different repetition. People often think success is about one big moment, one breakthrough, one lucky opportunity. But success is built in the quiet, boring, repetitive moments no one applauds. The early mornings, the late nights, the extra practice, the study sessions, the workouts when you don't feel like it. That's where levels change. You cannot carry casual habits into serious dreams. It doesn't work. If your goal is extraordinary, your routine cannot be ordinary. If your vision is massive, your discipline cannot be minimal. Level 1 habits say, I'll do it if I feel like it. Level 2 habits say, I'll do it because it's scheduled. Level 3 habits say, hey, I'll do it because it's who I am. Identity-driven habits change everything. When you identify as someone disciplined, you don't debate whether to show up. You show up. When you identify as someone committed, quit isn't part of the vocabulary. When you identify as someone focused, distractions lose their power. But identity is shaped by repetition. You don't wake up with elite habits. You build them. The problem is most people try to change their results without changing their routine. They want the next level income with entry-level work ethic. They want peak fitness with inconsistent training. They want mastery with casual effort. It doesn't work that way. Your habits must evolve before your life does. If you're serious about leveling up, audit your day. How much time are you wasting? How much energy are you leaking into distractions? How often are you choosing comfort over growth? Be honest, because honesty is the foundation of upgrade. Level 1 habits are reactive. They respond to feelings. Level 2 habits are intentional. They respond to purpose. At the next level, you don't rely on motivation. Motivation fluctuates. Discipline remains. Discipline is what carries you when excitement fades. Discipline is what separates professionals from amateurs. Amateurs work when inspired. Professionals work regardless. If you want professional results in your life, you need professional habits, structured routines, clear goals, non-negotiable standard. That means you may need to wake up earlier. You may need to limit entertainment. You may need to read more than you scroll. You may need to train harder than you talk. You may need to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term power. And that's uncomfortable because upgrading habits means confronting the truth that some of your current behaviors are holding you back. It means admitting that your comfort has been expensive. It means recognizing that your future requires a stronger version of you. But here's the good news. Small changes compound. You don't have to transform your entire life overnight. You just need to upgrade one habit at a time. 1 hour of focused work daily, one consistent workout schedule, one commitment to learning, one decision to follow through no matter what. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need 1 week of extreme effort. You need months of steady discipline. Leveling up is not about dramatic bursts. It's about sustainable systems. The next level will demand more of your time, more of your focus, more of your resilience. If you don't prepare through habit, you will collapse under opportunity because opportunity exposes your preparation. Imagine receiving the exact breakthrough you've been praying for. Would your current habits support it? Would your time management sustain it? Would your discipline protect it? Or would you lose it because your foundation isn't strong enough? Habits are your foundation. Level 1 habits focus on convenience. Level 2 habits focus on growth. You must become obsessed with improvement, not perfection, but progress. Each day asking, how can I be 1% better? Each week evaluating what needs adjustment. Each month reflecting, am I closer to who I said I want to become? This mindset separates those who wish from those who win. Level 1 habits entertain distraction, endless scrolling, endless comparison, endless procrastination. But distraction is expensive. Every minute you spend feeding distraction is a minute stolen from development. You cannot outwork someone who guards their habits fiercely. At the next level, you protect your time. You protect your energy. You protect your focus. You don't allow everything access to your attention. Because attention is currency, and habits determine where that currency is invested. Upgrading habits also means upgrading environment. Who are you around? What conversations dominate your space? What standards are normal in your circle? If you surround yourself with people satisfied at level 1, leveling up will feel unnatural. Environment reinforces habit. If you want to rise, put yourself around those who operate at a higher standard. Not to compare, but to calibrate. Exposure expands expectation. When you see what's possible, you raise your own bar. But ultimately, the responsibility is yours. No one can build your habits for you. No one can wake up in your place. No one can execute on your behalf. You must decide that who you are becoming matters more than how you feel today. Leveling up requires discomfort. It requires saying no to impulses. It requires delayed gratification. It requires choosing growth repeatedly, even when it's boring. But boredom is part of mastery. Repetition is part of excellence. Champions don't rely on hype. They rely on habit. They trust their systems. They show up regardless of mood. They execute regardless of applause. If you truly want the next level, you must outgrow the habits that built this one. You must replace inconsistency with structure, replace procrastination with priority, replace distraction with discipline. And remember this, habits shape identity. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior shapes destiny. So ask yourself, what kind of person does my dream require? Then build the habits of that person now, not later, not when it's convenient. Now, because you cannot level up with level 1 habits, and until your daily actions match your desired future, that future will remain out of reach. Fear is loud, but regret is louder. Fear will shout at you the moment you think about stepping outside your comfort zone. It will raise its voice when you consider taking a risk. Starting something new, ending something familiar, or chasing something bigger than your current reality. Fear is immediate. It is emotional. It feels urgent. Tries to convince you that safety is smarter than courage. But regret doesn't scream right away. Regret waits. It waits until the opportunity has passed. It waits until the years have gone by. It waits until you see someone else living the life you once imagined for yourself. And when it speaks, it doesn't whisper. It echoes. It lingers. It follows you in the quiet moments. It shows up in late night thoughts. It reminds you of chances you didn't take, words you didn't say, risks you didn't embrace. Fear is temporary. Regret is persistent. Fear tells you, what if you fail? Regret asks, what if you could have succeeded? Fear tells you, what will people think? Regret asks, oh, why did you let their opinions control your life? Fear tells you you're not ready. Regret asks, when were you ever going to be? The reason fear feels stronger is because it lives in the present. It hijacks your emotions. It creates worst-case scenarios in your mind. It exaggerates the risks. It magnifies the discomfort. But fear is often a projection, not a prediction. It's your imagination trying to protect you from embarrassment, from pain, from uncertainty. Regret, on the other hand, is rooted in reality. It is the emotional weight of knowing you didn't try. It is the ache of unrealized potential. It is the frustration of watching life move forward while you stay still. Most people avoid short-term fear and unknowingly choose long-term regret. They stay in the job that drains them because leaving feels scary. They remain silent about their dreams because speaking up feels risky. They avoid starting because beginning feels uncomfortable. In each moment, fear wins the argument. But years later, regret wins the war. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision that fear will not be the final authority in your life. You would never eliminate fear completely. Every new level brings new uncertainty. Every new opportunity carries risk. Every meaningful pursuit requires vulnerability. But fear does not have to control you. Think about the moments in your life when you were most proud of yourself. Chances are, they were moments when you acted despite fear. When you spoke up even though your voice shook. When you tried even though you weren't sure. When you stepped forward even though you felt unqualified. That's where growth happens. Fear often signals expansion. It shows up at the edge of your comfort zone. It appears right before transformation. The problem is that most people interpret fear as a stop sign. In reality, it is often a doorway. If something scares you because it stretches you, that's not a reason to retreat. That's a reason to prepare and proceed. Regret doesn't just come from failure. It comes from inaction. It comes from shrinking yourself to avoid discomfort. It comes from choosing safety over significance again and again until significance feels unreachable. Imagine yourself 10 years from now looking back at today. What decision would that future version of you wish you made? What risk would they thank you for taking? What fear would they encourage you to confront? Because the version of you who achieves the goal, who builds the legacy, who lives the fulfilled life, that version exists on the other side of courage. Fear says to stay where you are. Regret says you should have moved. Fear says it's too risky. Regret says it was worth the risk. Fear is emotional. Regret is reflective. And reflection can be painful when it reveals missed opportunities. The pain of trying and failing is sharp but short-lived. The pain of never trying is dull but enduring. One fades with time. The other deepens. When you allow fear to dictate your choices, you slowly train yourself to shrink. You lower your standard. You lower your expectations. You convince yourself that small is safe, but small does not satisfy a big vision. There is something inside you that wants more growth, more impact, more expression, more challenge. And every time you silence that desire because fear feels overwhelming, you create distance between who you are and who you could be. Regret closes that distance in the most uncomfortable way by reminding you what might have been. Fear focuses on the possibility of loss. Regret focuses on the certainty of loss when you don't act. You might fail. You might stumble. That's possible. You might face criticism. That's likely. But failure teaches. Stumbling strengthens. Criticism sharpens. Regret teaches nothing except what you already know. You should have tried. There are people who fail multiple times and still say they're grateful they tried. But rarely will you meet someone who never tried and feels proud of that decision. Fear is a test. It asks, how badly do you want this? If your desire is weak, fear will win. If your commitment is shallow, fear will dominate. But if your vision is strong enough, fear becomes background noise. You don't silence fear by waiting. You silence it by acting. Every time you take a step forward despite fear, you weaken its grip. Every time you prove to yourself that you can survive discomfort, you build confidence. And confidence compounds. The first step is the hardest. The first risk feels the biggest. The first leap feels the scariest. But once you move, you realize fear was exaggerating. It was louder than necessary. Regret, however, grows louder with time. It collects moments. It accumulates missed chances. It builds a narrative of hesitation. Do not build that narrative. Instead, build a story of courage, a story where you tried, a story where you stretched, a story where you refuse to let fear dictate your destiny. When you're older, you won't regret the nights you worked towards something meaningful. You won't regret the risks you took in pursuit of growth. You won't regret the bold conversations or the uncomfortable transitions if they were aligned with your purpose. You will regret the times you knew you were meant for more, but chose comfort instead. Fear protects your present comfort. Courage protects your future fulfillment. The choice is always between short-term discomfort and long-term disappointment. Right now, fear might be telling you to wait, to think more, to prepare endlessly, to delay, but waiting does not eliminate fear. It strengthens it. Action diminishes it. You are stronger than your fear. You are more capable than your doubt. You are more resilient than you realize, and one day you will either thank yourself for moving despite fear, or you will question yourself for staying because of it. Choose the pain that builds you, not the pain that haunts you. Fear is loud in the moment. It demands attention, shakes your confidence. But regret is louder in the long run. It echoes across years. It lingers in memory. It reminds you of the life you could have lived. So act. Even if your voice trembles, even if your hands shake, even if your heart races. Because courage is not calm. Courage is committed. And the sound of regret is far more unbearable than the sound of fear. Nobody's coming to rescue your potential. Nobody is secretly preparing a moment where they will knock on your door and hand you the life you've been dreaming about. Nobody is studying your hidden talent, waiting for the perfect time to discover you while you sit still. If your potential is going to be realized, it will be because you decided to act on it. It's a hard truth, but it's a powerful one. From a young age, many people are conditioned to wait. Wait for instruction, wait for permission, wait for approval, wait for opportunity. You are taught to follow the system, follow the path, follow the rules. And somewhere along the way, you start believing that if you just wait long enough, something or someone will elevate you. But potential doesn't respond to waiting, it responds to work. There's no cavalry coming, no magical mentor who will force you to be disciplined, no friend who will wake up early on your behalf. No boss who will care more about your growth than you do. No partner who can carry your ambition if you refuse to carry it yourself. You must become the one who shows up. It's easy to blame your environment. It's easy to blame your upbringing. It's easy to blame the lack of resources, the lack of connections, the lack of support. And yes, those things matter. They shape your starting point, but they do not have to define your finish line. If you keep waiting for ideal conditions, you will waste valuable time. Ideal conditions rarely exist. Progress is built in imperfect circumstances. Growth happens in real time, not in fantasy scenarios. Some of the most dangerous words you can tell yourself are when someone gives me a chance. Because chances are often created, not given. Doors are often knocked on, not open automatically. Opportunities are often pursued, not delivered. If you don't advocate for your own potential, who will? You have gifts, ideas, skills, and dreams that nobody else can execute exactly the way you can. But if you hide them, if you doubt them, if you delay them, they remain unused. And unused potential is a tragedy. There are people with half your talent, but twice your actions succeeding right now. Not because they're more gifted, but because they refuse to wait. They moved, they tried, they risked embarrassment, they embraced rejection, they kept going when no one applauded. That is the difference. Nobody is coming to save you from your procrastination. Nobody is coming to rescue you from your fear. Nobody is coming to force you to level up. That responsibility belongs to you. And that realization should not depress you. It should empower you. Because if nobody is coming to rescue your potential, it means your destiny is not dependent on someone else's schedule. It means you don't have to wait for validation to begin. It means you don't need universal approval to act. You have permission right now, but ownership is uncomfortable. Ownership means you cannot blame endlessly. Ownership means you must evaluate your habits. Ownership means confronting the truth that you may be the one holding yourself back. That truth is heavy, but it's freeing. When you accept full responsibility for your growth, you gain control. You stop waiting for rescue and start building results. You stop asking who will help you and start asking how you can help yourself. Rescue mentality creates passivity. Ownership mentality creates movement. Think about it. If you truly believed that nobody was coming, how differently would you operate? Would you waste as much time? Would you hesitate as often? Would you delay as comfortably? Probably not. You would train harder, study longer, network intentionally, take more risks, because you would understand that your future is directly connected to your effort. There is no hidden shortcut, no secret elevator to the top. There are stairs, and they must be climbed. Sometimes you may receive help. Sometimes someone may open a door. But even when that happens, you must be prepared. Help amplifies effort. It does not replace it. If you are not working, opportunity will expose you. If you are not disciplined, success will overwhelm you. If you are not prepared, breakthroughs will slip through your fingers. So instead of waiting to be rescued, prepare to be ready. Build skills when no one is watching. Strengthen discipline when no one is checking. Practice when no one applauds. Because when your moment arrives, and it will, you must be able to step into it confidently. Nobody is coming to wake you up every morning with urgency. You must cultivate urgency yourself. Nobody is coming to protect your time from distractions. You must guard it. Nobody's coming to push you past your excuses. You must confront them. And here's something powerful. When you stop expecting rescue, you stop feeling entitled. You start feeling driven. Entitlement says, I deserve this. Drive says, I will earn this. Entitlement waits. Drive works. Your potential is like a seed. It contains possibility, but possibility alone does nothing. It must be planted. It must be watered. It must be nurtured. It must endure seasons of growth. And you are the gardener. If you neglect it, it does not grow. If you doubt it, it does not flourish. If you abandon it, it does not survive. But if you commit to cultivating it daily, it will expand beyond what you imagine. You are not powerless. You are not helpless. You are not stuck waiting for rescue. You are capable of initiating change. Start small if you must. But start, improve one skill. Strengthen one habit. Take one bold step. Send one email. Make one call. Create one plan. Action builds momentum. Momentum builds belief. And belief fuels further action. Over time, you'll begin to see yourself differently. Not someone waiting to be discovered, but as someone developing deliberately. Not as someone hoping for rescue, but as someone building resilience. The world respects those who respect their own potential enough to work for it. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to stop waiting. Just need to stop waiting. Stop waiting for applause. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for someone else to validate what you already feel inside. Because your potential deserves more than passive hope. It deserves active pursuit. Nobody is coming to rescue your potential. And that is the best news you could ever receive. It means the power has been in your hands all along. The answer to those questions often points toward legacy. Because legacy lives where fear once stood. Safe thinking says, what if I lose? Legacy thinking says, what if I win? Safe thinking focus on protection. Legacy thinking focus on possibility. There are people who will depend on your courage. People who will be inspired by your example. People who will benefit from your willingness to go first. Your chill family, your community, they don't just need you to survive. They need you to model what it looks like to strive. When you take bold action, you give others permission to do the same. When you pursue growth aggressively, you raise the standard for those around you. When you refuse to settle, you disrupt cycles of limitation. That's how legacy is built. Not through comfort, not through caution alone, but through intentional courage. Playing it safe might keep your life manageable, but it may also keep it minimal. And minimal rarely fulfills a massive vision. You were not designed merely to exist quietly. You were designed to contribute meaningfully, to create, to influence, to build something that extends beyond your immediate comfort. And building requires risk. You might start something that doesn't work the first time. You might speak and not everyone agrees. You might invest time and energy into a goal that takes longer than expected. But those risks are part of the process. The alternative is stagnation. Stagnation feels safe in the short term, but over time it becomes frustrating. You begin to feel restless. You begin to sense that you are capable of more. That restlessness is a signal that safe is no longer sufficient, Legacy is not about being famous. It's about being impactful. It's about maximizing what you were given. It's about refusing to let fear dictate the size of your life. It's about asking yourself at the end of your journey, did I give everything I had? Or did I protect myself from discomfort at the expense of growth? Safe doesn't demand everything from you. Legacy does. Legacy requires vision. It requires discipline. It requires resilience. It requires the willingness to endure seasons of uncertainty while building something meaningful. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. It can be lonely at times. It can feel overwhelming. But safe comfort fades quickly. The satisfaction impact lasts far longer. You don't build something extraordinary by doing only what feels secure. You build it by stretching beyond what feels easy. Your life has weight. Your actions have ripple effects. The risks you take today could create opportunities for others tomorrow. So do not shrink your ambition to fit a safe environment. Expand your environment to fit your ambition. Choose calculated courage over passive security. Choose growth over comfort. Choose impact over invisibility. Because safe might protect your present, but only boldness builds your legacy. The truth is, nobody owes you your breakthrough. Nobody is obligated to hand you your dreams. Nobody is sitting around waiting for you to catch up. Your life does not pause until you feel ready. And the world does not slow down for your convenience. If your breakthrough is going to happen, it will happen because you refuse to wait. It will happen because you decided to take ownership of your progress, to act relentlessly, to refuse to be comfortable with mediocrity. Most people are waiting for signals, waiting for signs, waiting for the perfect alignment of circumstances that will make their move a safer or ideal. They are waiting for a mentor to show up, for a perfect plan to appear, for the timing to feel just right. And while they wait, their potential quietly fades. Every day spent waiting is energy lost, momentum wasted, and opportunity passing by. The truth is, perfection is a mirage. Timing is never perfect. Conditions are rarely ideal. If you rely on them, you will remain stuck indefinitely. Your breakthrough begins not when you feel ready, but when you decide to move anyway. Courage does not wait for motivation. Action does not wait for comfort. Momentum does not wait for certainty. If you want a different life, you must start acting differently today. You must stop negotiating with your potential. You must stop making excuses. You must stop telling yourself that someone or something else is going to deliver it for you. The responsibility is yours, and only yours. Too many people believe that waiting makes them wise. They think patience is their ally, that hesitation is prudence. But hesitation without action is the enemy of progress. Waiting feels safe, but safety rarely produces extraordinary results. Waiting avoids risk, but it also avoids growth. Waiting protects comfort, but it destroys potential. If you spend your life waiting, your breakthrough will pass you by while the rest of the world moves forward. Your breakthrough is not going to knock politely on your door. It's not going to announce itself with fanfare. It will come to those who are prepared, those who are willing to act despite fear, those who are willing to endure discomfort, and those who refuse to give up when results are not immediate. Up comes to the people who refuse to be spectators in their own lives. This is why preparation is non-negotiable. You cannot wait for inspiration to strike. You cannot wait for motivation to arrive. Motivation is fleeting, unreliable, and inconsistent. Preparation, on the other hand, compound. Every skill you develop, every habit you strengthen, every ounce of discipline you build today adds to your readiness for the opportunity that will appear tomorrow. Breakthrough favors the prepared. It is not random, and it's not charitable. It is the reward of consistent, relentless effort. Many people misinterpret luck. They look at someone else's success and think it was effortless. They assume the breakthrough happened overnight. But the truth is, what looks like luck is often the visible result of invisible work. Countless hours of preparation, countless days of showing up when no one is watching, countless moments of persistence. These are the real reasons breakthroughs happen. Nobody owes you that work for free. You have to put it in. Fear will try to convince you that the breakthrough is not possible, that you are not ready, that you don't have what it takes. Fear will whisper, oh, wait a little longer, prepare a little more. Maybe it's not meant for you. But fear is a liar. Fear is designed to protect the squirrel, to keep you safe, and to keep you small. The people who achieve breakthroughs do not let fear dictate their action. They acknowledge it, respect it as a signal that they are stretching, but they move anyway. Excuses are also obstacles. They disguise themselves as reasons. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'm not ready. I'm not the resources. Excuses are convenient and they feel logical, but they will never produce results. If you want a breakthrough, you must stop excusing your inaction. You must accept that waiting will not create it. You must take ownership and decide that failure, discomfort, and uncertainty are acceptable costs for the life you desire. Action breeds clarity. Many people wait because they are afraid of the unknown. They think movement requires certainty. But certainty comes from action, not analysis. You will never know what you are capable of unless you act. You will never discover the opportunities available to you unless you engage with the world. Movement generates momentum. Momentum reveals direction. Direction creates results. Waiting produces nothing. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. You cannot rely on motivation, inspiration, or luck alone. They are unpredictable. Discipline is consistent. Discipline is visible and is visible in the small decisions you make daily. Showing up, doing the work, choosing growth over comfort. These are the habits that eventually lead to breakthroughs. It is the compound effect of your actions over time that produces transformative results. Breakthrough requires resilience. It will not arrive gently. It will not be easy. It will demand persistence, patience, and grit. There will be setbacks, failures, and moments where quitting seems like the most rational choice. But those who experience breakthroughs endure. They do not let temporary defeat define their trajectory. They adjust, they learn, they improve, and they continue forward. Your breakthrough may not be immediate, but that does not mean it is not coming. Consistency over time is what separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who do not. It is not talent alone. It is not luck. It is relentless, disciplined action that compounds day after day, week after week, year after year. The work you do today, even when it feels small or insignificant, is what positions you for the breakthrough you seek. The people who achieve breakthroughs think differently. They understand that waiting is passive, but action is active. They recognize that discomfort is a sign of growth, not a reason to retreat. They embrace uncertainty because they know that breakthroughs do not occur in predictable, controlled environments. They take risks intentionally, calculate the consequences, and proceed anyway. Opportunities do not have to be perfect. Timing does not have to be flawless. Conditions do not have to be ideal. You will never feel fully ready. Waiting for that moment is a trap. The perfect moment rarely exists. The perfect opportunity is usually disguised as something inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar. You must act despite hesitation. You must act despite uncertainty. You must act despite fear. Breakthrough also requires focus. Distractions are everywhere. Social media, opinions of others, comfort, entertainment, they all compete for your attention. You cannot allow them to dilute your effort. Your potential is too valuable to waste on trivialities. You must protect your time, energy, and focus fiercely. Where you invest your attention is where your results will appear. You must also take responsibility. Nobody is coming to rescue your potential. Nobody is coming to compensate for missed opportunities. Nobody is going to do the work for you. You are the one accountable for your growth, your results, and your success. Ownership is the ultimate catalyst for breakthroughs. When you accept that the power is in your hand, you stop waiting and start moving. Every step forward matters. Breakthrough is rarely instantaneous. It is the accumulation of small, consistent action. One extra hour of work, one additional effort, one moment where you push past discomfort instead of yielding. These moments add up, and over time, they position you for significant results. Consistency is often more powerful than intensity. Small daily improvements compound into massive transformation. You must believe in your capacity. Breakthrough requires confidence, not arrogance, not entitlement, but a deep-seated belief. that you are capable of more than your current circumstances suggest. That belief fuels action when fear tries to paralyze you. That belief carries you when results are not immediate. That belief allows you to endure setbacks without losing sight of your vision. Vision is another non-negotiable. Breakthrough does not happen without clarity about what you want to create. If you do not know what you are moving toward, any action will feel scattered. Your vision must be vivid, detailed, and personal. It must excite you enough to push through challenges, discomfort, and temporary defeat. Without a compelling vision, breakthroughs are unlikely. Breakthrough is rarely linear. There will be moments where it feels like nothing is happening. Moments where doubt creeps in. Moments where you question your ability, your timing, or your choices. That is normal. Growth is messy. Transformation is uncomfortable. But these moments are not indicators that your breakthrough is impossible. They are part of the process. You must also embrace failure as feedback. Each setback, mistake, or misstep is not a signal to quit, but an opportunity to learn. Breakthrough requires adjustment. It requires refining your approach. It requires using experience to improve. Those who refuse to fail are often the ones who never progress. Those who embrace failure strategically are the ones who eventually succeed. The people who experience breakthroughs act when others hesitate. They start when others wait. They move when others pause. They take responsibility when others blame. They endure when others quit. Breakthrough is earned through persistence, not entitlement. It is achieved through disciplined execution, not wishful thinking. And when your breakthrough arrives, it is a result of every choice you made leading up to it. Every early morning, every extra effort, every step forward despite fear, every decision to take action instead of waiting, every refusal to accept mediocrity. Your breakthrough is not a gift. It is a reward of consistent, intentional effort. You must remember this. Nobody owes you your breakthrough, and that is empowering. It means that the power to change your life is entirely in your hands. You do not have to wait for permission. You do not have to wait for validation. You do not have to wait for the world to recognize your work. You can act now, take ownership now, and move relentlessly toward the life you are capable of creating. The people who reach extraordinary levels of success are not waiting for rescue. They are building, learning, and growing every single day. They are taking action when the path is unclear. They are developing skills before opportunities appear. They are creating value before the world notices. They are relentless. They are disciplined. They are intentional. And they are not waiting for someone else to deliver their breakthrough. They are creating it themselves. Your breakthrough begins today. Not when you feel ready. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when the world tells you it's your turn. Today, take ownership of your potential. Commit to action. Protect your focus. Build your skills. Endure discomfort. Embrace risk. Learn from failure. Persist through doubt. And refuse to wait. Because nobody is coming to rescue your potential. Only you can unlock it. Only you can act on it. Only you can demand it. And when you do, you will realize that the power to create the life you dream of was in your hands all along. Your breakthrough is waiting. The question is, will you wait too, or will you move?